Hi everyone, and welcome to Quinnipiac's 2022 Pitch Competition, sponsored by the People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Alec Williams, and oh boy, do we have a fun-filled evening for you tonight. We have 5 teams, each presenting their own transformative business ideas for a chance to win up to $3,000 each. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and introduce the director for the People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Patrice Luoma.
Thanks, Alec. Hi, I'm Patrice Luoma, and as director of the center, I help to provide guidance, mentoring, and opportunities for Quinnipiac University students with their ideas and businesses, such as tonight's business pitch competition, our student business pop-up shops, and many other opportunities and individual mentoring. The journey to tonight's competition began 2 months ago as 30 Quinnipiac students from across various schools at the university entered our pitch competition with a written application. From there, we were able to narrow down the field to 10 semifinalists who presented their pitches last week to a panel of faculty judges. This evening, we have for you the 5 finalists vying to earn the judges' money to jumpstart their businesses. I'd like to thank the Faculty Innovation Fellows who reviewed applications and watched presentations, and to the 3 judges tonight for giving their valuable time to the competition. Now let's get on with tonight's competition.
All right, thank you so much, Patrice. Now, like she said, let's get to the competition. Starting out with our rules for tonight. So each team will have 5 minutes to present, followed by a 5-minute Q&A from the judges and, of course, you, the audience. So make sure that as the teams are presenting, that you go ahead and you drop your questions into the YouTube chat below. And I'll go ahead and I'll read the questions to the presenters. Now, after this, each judge will award prize money immediately after each team presents, so they will know right then and there. Each judge can award up to $1,000. That means that each team can be awarded up to $3,000 for their own transformative business idea. Now, speaking of judges, let's go ahead and introduce our judges tonight. First off, we have Daniela Alpert, co-founder of Shift Moving. Next up, we have Marcus DeVito, Director of Advanced Planning at National Financial Network. And finally, we have Deb Leibowitz, our very own provost at Quinnipiac University. All right, well, without further delay, let's go ahead and get right to it. First up, Flawless Frau.
Thank you. So hi, my name is Audrey. I'm the creator of Flawless Frau. So imagine you're an impressionable 12-year-old black girl and you hear that your natural hair is ghetto, nappy, or unprofessional. You internalize the hatred that you hear for your hair, and now you won't step foot outside your house without your hair done. Well, that was my reality, and that's the reality for black girls across the country. So black women keep their damaged natural hair for length because we're taught that our value and our femininity is placed in how long our hair is. We feel like society doesn't accept our hair because we hear that it's unprofessional in the workplace or not good enough for special occasions. And it's expensive to maintain your hair and keep it done and always replenish products. So why am I the one to solve this problem? Well, I went through the natural hair journey. So when I created Flawless Frau, I finally started to embrace my natural hair. I learned the do's and the don'ts, and then I went through that phase of being defensive when it came to wearing my natural hair and always feeling like I had to defend myself if someone was saying something bad about it. And I have years of experience in the New York wholesale district. So I've been going there since I was a little kid with my mom, so I built very strong relationships with my suppliers. And I practice hair formulation, so every single product that I sell, I make, and I practice dozens of formulations to get the perfect product. And I grew up around black girls with shared experiences because I went to New Haven public schools my entire life. And I know my market, and I know how to talk to them, and I know how to solve them because I'm my market, and I was around my market. And I've done entrepreneurial programs such as NIFTY, DECA, the Entrepreneurship Leadership Academy. And I'm currently in the Stealth Venture Labs Impact Lab where I'm learning the MVP process and testing the viability of my business. So the solution is Inch's Hair Restoration and Growth Cream, which I have there for you to try. And inches helps restore damaged hair, it helps promote hair growth, and then it helps you build your confidence to rock your fro. So I named it inches because black girls use inches as a term of endearment. When you get your hair done and it looks cute and it looks long, oh, you have inches. So the deliveries. Ooh. I've already sold over 300 bottles of inches on my website, flawlessfro.com. I have an audience of 800 followers on my Instagram, which I built organically, and I direct traffic to my website using other social media platforms. I've done pop-up shops such as the Black Wall Street, and I'm in hair salons that my aunts own across the country. So the ask, the big question. I'm asking you for $3,000, and $2,000 of that will be used for research and development of new products. So I want to tweak the formula of my shampoo bar, and then I want to start manufacturing the deep conditioner, which I've already tested, and I want to start testing a styling gel. $500 of that will be used for advertising and promotional material, because right now I take all my photos on my phone and stuff, so I want to have professional product photos, and I want to have a lifestyle photo shoot that shows what my product does and how I help black women embrace their natural hair. And $500 will be used for outsourcing website development. So I built my website and I've been running it for the past few years. So I know the back end and I'm confident that I'll be able to run the day-to-day. So now I feel like I can outsource that development. And I want to elevate my logo because I created it when I was 14 and I didn't really know much about like color theory or anything like that. So it's just very pink and cartoony, and I want to mature my logo as my target market matures. So thank you, and help me help black girls across the country rock their fro, and let's break the stigma that's placed on natural hair.
All right. Thank you so much, Flawless Fro. Now we're going to go ahead right into the 5 minutes of Q&A. So audience, make sure that if you have any questions that you go ahead and drop them right into the chat below the YouTube stream. First, we'll start with judges. Deb.
So thanks so much for sharing your passion with us. I'm curious about how you see the competitive market here, right? There are other companies in this space, Carol's Daughters, others like that. So how do you see that? And are you targeting in particular girls, the adult market? How do you think about that?
So I'm targeting black girls because I feel like that's your developmental stage and like you're learning your confidence and stuff like that. So that's my like competitive advantage, as well as when you have a black owned business, like being black owned is very like important to like black women and black girls. So a lot of those companies like Carol's Daughter, Shea Moisture and stuff, they like sold their company to like Unilever and stuff like that. And people keep that in mind. They do those posts like black owned companies that are actually black owned. So I feel like that's another competitive advantage as well. And I'm just in my messaging. So a lot of the natural hair companies, they just like expect you to go natural, but going natural is a process. It's an emotional process, and then the physical process of going natural. So that's another one of my competitive advantages.
All right, and Judge Marcus?
I think you have a great idea and a great plan of action. What do you view is your largest hurdle right at this moment?
So my largest hurdle is definitely making the products. So I make it out of my like kitchen and stuff like that, and it's just me and my mom. So as I grow and as I get more like followers and things like that, and I have to produce more, it is a lot more like labor intensive and just making space in our house. So that's my biggest hurdle right now, and like going forward, we would definitely have to like, whether it be like rent out a place or something like that, to start to amp up the production.
All right, and it looks like we have a question from the audience. So the audience is asking, what age are you looking to sell towards?
So I'm looking to sell towards 13-year-olds and then in between 22. So I feel like 13 is when your like parents finally start letting you like do your own hair and like they're like get out of your way. And then 22 is like you're still in college, you're still learning yourself, you're still young. So those are like the years that I feel like you start to like learn to love yourself.
And I guess we have a follow-up question to that. How does this product differ from others?
So Inches is all natural. I source the shea butter from Senegal, West Africa directly. So with shea butter, it's hard to spot the reals and the fakes because there's so many out in the market and when you go to like large department stores, so that's a big plus. And then I just have a lot of reviews that back up my claims. So I have a customer who's from Chicago. She went into liver failure and lost a lot of her hair. So she used my products for months now and she's given me a testimonial and she sent me updated pictures for over the past few months and shown her hair has grown and it's gotten thicker and it's helped her gain her confidence after her diagnosis.
All right, and it looks like we have another question from the audience. When did you decide to launch Flawless Frau?
So I made Flawless Frau when I was 14, turning 15. I used my birthday money. So I was in a marketing class in high school and we had to do like a business plan project. So once I thought of the idea, I was like, okay, I'll just do it for the grade. But as I like went along with the business plan, I realized, oh, this could be like an actual good business and have like a good impact. And my parents were very supportive of it. So I was able to start at 15 after my birthday, and it's grown since there.
All right, and I guess we have one more question from the audience. How do you plan to expand your business in terms of creating new things and keeping up with trends?
So right now I want to expand my line because I want Flawless Frau to be a household name and I want you to be able to do your hair only using Flawless Frau products. So that's my next move. I want a whole hair care routine. And then as trends grow, I feel like the natural hair movement is definitely progressing. So it went from just being natural products to like now like you can use more products and the ingredients don't really matter as much as long as they benefit your hair. So I feel like I just have to keep in tune with the natural hair movement and see what's next for that.
All right, and it looks like we have two questions. Marcus, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I hear you talking a lot about expanding on hair products. Do you see yourself expanding into any other areas of like facial, anything like that?
Not with Flawless Frau, no. I just want to stick with hair. That's my niche, and that's what I'm good at, and that's what I feel like I solve that problem with my business. So I just want to stick with hair products and grow from there. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And it looks like that is the end of our Q&A. Thank you so much, Flawless Frau. So now we are going to go ahead and go to the judges for our decision on how much you all would like to allocate to Flawless Frau. First, we'll start with Judge Daniela.
So fantastic presentation. One question I didn't get to ask was cost. I'm curious how much the product cost you and how much you're selling it for from a margins perspective, and that would probably help me in deciding what my investment would be. Can you share that real quick?
So it cost me $3.31 to make a bottle of inches, including packaging as well.
Fantastic. And you sell it for?
I sell it for 14.
14. Fantastic. I would love to give you $800.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Judge Marcus?
I think it was great. I think you're investing in all the right places. I like that you're not going to try and expand to something that you're not passionate about. Product smells great.
Thank you.
I opened the container. I would give you $700.
Thank you.
All right, and finally, Judge Deb.
So I agree. The product does smell great. It feels good. And one of the other things I was curious about is how what does natural mean? Is it all organic? Like what? How you're thinking about that and how you sell that in the future. I think that you have a great idea the way you laid out the plan of what you need, and I think you're right that there's a lot of interest in this space and need, and I loved that you knew that Carol's Daughters had been sold, so I'll give you $900.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Flawless Frau. That is awesome, and now we have a total of 800, 800, and 800,
700.
800, 700, and 900 for a total of $2,400 for Flawless Frau. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Flawless Frau. All right, and next up we have Ular.
Thank you and welcome. We are Ular. We are changing the game of snow sports by being your personalized guide to the ski mountain. So in the US, there's over 400 different ski resorts, weather conditions that are constantly changing, trail maps that are confusing and hard to read, and prices that are going astronomically up. If you look closely, it says that $239 is what it costs to ride on December 29th, 2021 at Vail Mountain Resort. So with these costs rising and all this confusion, it's hard for people to be able to enjoy their sport to the greatest extent. So after speaking with dozens of people in the industry across all Colorado, Vermont, and all over, we've realized that the current ski apps don't do enough for riders, and most of us have 2 or 3 apps to get the data analytics that we want through our riding. That's why we've developed Ular. So meet Sasha. Sasha's a snowboarder from Vermont who rides typically green and blue trails, and she's going on a trip to Colorado. It's super exciting. She's gotten recommendations from her advanced level ski friends on where to go, and she decides on A-Basin. So she flies into Denver, and after not knowing about I-70 traffic, she gets stuck in 4 hours of traffic on a 1.5-hour drive to go to A-Basin, and A-Basin is -5 degrees. This is not a Vermont day for her, and she's left frustrated and confused. This is a day that me and Jack have both personally experienced over our decades of skiing and snowboarding, and is something that made us make Ular. So using machine learning, it matches Sasha with similar riders at similar different resorts, so she has a better understanding of her rider and her rider profile and where she wants to ride. So using this, it gives personalized resort information, trail suggestions, mountains that she should go ride, and weather apps as well. So that is Sasha, and we want to use Ular to change the game of snowboarding.
All right, so last year there were 59 million skier visits in the United States. We believe we can attract just 0.5% of those people, or about 300,000. So in year 1, we expect to only have a free version of the app, and so all our revenues will be primarily ad-driven. Year 2 is when we expect to roll out our premium version. We also want to roll out some improved user experience so that we can attract as many people from our year 1 as possible. Skiing is very community-driven, and so in year 3 and 4 is when we expect to really be penetrating that community and really start driving that growth. So we are seeking $3,000 for the development of Ular. Initially, we're going to need some startup costs, those being LLC and then our trademark and intellectual property rights. We also want to do some additional market research. We have identified 3 main geographical areas that we want to target, those being Vermont, New Hampshire, Colorado, and Utah. But we do need to do a little more research to figure out which of those we're going to target first. We also want to create a really strong brand, including website, social media, so that when we initially roll it out, we have a really strong, cohesive brand that our users can really resonate with. All right. So I am Jack Hurlbert. I am an MBA student here at Quinnipiac. I received my bachelor's degree in finance last May. I grew up in Breckenridge, Colorado, a big ski town. I've been skiing since I was 2 years old, and it's something that I'm really, really passionate about.
And I'm Jonathan Rosenblum. I'm also an MBA student here at Quinnipiac. I have a degree in political science and legal studies, so I have some education and some IP, which will help us with this initial start, as well as I've been working in the ski industry for 7+ years. This is a passion project for both me and Jack, and we really want to change the industry and help other riders get the best experience out of their ski days. So we are Ular, and we're changing the future of snow sports. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ular. And we're going to go ahead right into the Q&A. First, Judge Marcus.
How did you come up with the name?
So the name is based on the Norse god of skiing and snowboarding. So the Norse god is Ular. And so at Breckenridge and other resorts, they kind of praise Ular. So it's kind of a joke, is we're giving you all the information to find the best weather and find those powder days or whatever you want to ride. So you're praising Ular by using and opening our app. So that's kind of where the name came from.
I like that, yeah.
All right. And Judge Daniela.
So just curious on some of your ideas for obtaining traction and customer acquisition. How do you see that playing out?
We really want to focus on sort of the social media aspect of it. You know, so things like TikTok, we believe we can get a really good sort of interactive plan. We also want to focus on resorts themselves. if a person comes in and checks in at a hotel, at a resort, and they get a little pamphlet that says, this is Uller, this is what we do, I think that's going to drive a lot of engagement with the brand.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. And it looks like we have one question from the audience, and it says, do you guys have an app that is already published?
So we haven't published our app. We are in development stages, and we have a mock-up that we are going to be using for further pitches so we can get some more seed money. It's in process. It kind of works, and I think it's really useful. You know, yesterday I was at Killington. It was a bluebird day, and it was pouring rain outside. So I think there's a method to our madness.
All right. Judge Deb?
Yeah, I'm curious about at what stage you see people using your app. So is it really, I'm planning my ski trip and I want to know where to go? Is it in the morning? I'm opening this up. I mean, you know, if you could talk more about the use of it.
Yeah, so
Why?
it's based. We came up with the idea. It's kind of based on the surf industry's standard for checking waves. So we see it being used all the time. So Jack lives in Breckenridge. You know, he can walk out his door, check the app, and go, oh, cool, I really want to ride Breck today. Or he can go, oh, you know, Breck, it's raining right now at the peak. You know, right now people who are on the app have said that it's bad conditions. I want to go somewhere else. So he can drive down I-70, and there's a dozen resorts on I-70 for him to choose for. So that's one use. Also, you know, I'm a Connecticut local. I just went to Colorado during spring break. I wanted to know where I wanted to ride. So I text Jack, I text all my friends, and Uller kind of takes that like headache of trying to find the resort or listening to Jack who skis when I'm a snowboarder, and he might tell me to go on a black diamond, and I don't want to ride that terrain. So Uller uses machine learning to go, okay, you know, you ride like this, here's a bunch of similar riders. They really liked Winter Park and Copper. You should go check those resorts out because Breck's not really your speed, or you don't really want to ride there. So it's both pre-planning a trip and right in the morning if you want to go take a day trip. It's all based on user preference and how they plan to use the app.
All right. Judge Marcus?
So you kind of answered my question. You had talked about it being community driven. So my question was whether users were going to be able to interact with each other. But I have another question, which is, what do you see as your biggest competitor right now, and how are you differentiating yourself? Is it based off of consolidation of the information? What's your real differentiator?
Yeah, so the main differentiator is the consolidation. Right now, the two major ski resort companies both offer apps, but they're not really great. They don't do the majority of the things. It just sort of, you look at it and it says this is like the temperature. So definitely bringing in all the elements, the temperature, weather, how things are doing on the mountain, as well as the community aspect of the people actually saying, like, this is a good day to ski versus just looking at an app and seeing, oh, like, I think this might be good, I think this might be bad.
All right.
Yeah, to add to that, Jack, as Jack said, you know, no one's doing this app. There is no app like this, and I've been on chairlifts all across the country, and I've asked, like, you know, if there was an app to do it all, would you download? And they're like, yeah, I have 4 apps that I try to get this information with on my phone. So no one does it the way we will be doing it.
Okay. And it looks like we have a question from the audience here. How will your investors in your LLC be compensated?
So to go and compensate our investors, it's basically we're going to be driving revenue, and so as we grow, they'll be paid out, as well as, you know, if we're looking at exit strategies and we want to sell to one of the major resort corporations, they'll be paid out in an exit strategy that we have.
Okay. And the last question from the audience, how do you plan to attract users to update the conditions on the app?
That's a good question.
So to attract users, we're going to be posting on social media, sponsoring pro athletes. You know, we want to make this community driven and by the riders, for the riders.
All right, great. And that's the end of the 5-minute Q&A. Thank you very much, Ular. We're going to go ahead and move right into the judges. So first up, Judge Daniela.
Sure. So great job, guys. I can definitely relate to some of these pain points: the cost, the experience, the connection with friends, etc. Really like where it's going. I'm curious too on the development side. So are you already working with engineers on the mobile dev side, or?
So right now it's just me and Jack, and we're looking to expand to devs. We have a bunch of friends who are computer design and in that industry, so we're looking at options for people who are also as passionate, because we want a dev who understands our pain points.
Sure, makes sense. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to give you guys $600.
Well, congratulations, $600 from Judge Daniela. Judge Marcus.
Again, I think you're asking for, you're allocating the money in the right places. I like the idea. I like how it's something that's not currently out there and it's consolidating information. It's making people's lives easier, which is really kind of how you sell a subscription, right? I'll give you $800.
$800 from Judge Marcus, congrats. And now, Judge Deb.
All right, well, I agree, and I've certainly ended up on a mountain and disappointed at the conditions. I'm not sure that I'm driving down Route 70 deciding where to go at the point that I'm looking at the app. I'm not quite sure about the timing of how you're looking and how you're deciding. Maybe if you're living in Breckenridge and you want to decide that day whether you're headed to the mountain, it works, but it doesn't help me if I want to go to Vermont next week. Which I don't actually, given that the snow is probably really.
There is still snow, though. I promise you.
Okay.
I can confirm.
I'll trust you on that. But I think the idea is really interesting. I like the consolidation, and so I'll do $600.
All right, and $600 from Judge Deb. Congratulations to Ular. That's a total of $2,000. Congratulations, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, and next up to our third contestant today, we have Campus Cars.
Hi, my name is Tess, and this is Campus Cars, the safer way to rideshare. Every time you get into an Uber or a Lyft, you're more or less taking a gamble. You're never going to know your driver's true intentions until, unfortunately, it might be too late. Uber alone had over 6,000 sexual assaults in just 1 year. And on top of that, with surge charges very late at night, we have young individuals in bad areas of towns and cities waiting for prices to drop. And on top of that, ride-sharing is detrimental to our environment, producing 69% more carbon than if riders had just taken their own car to and from that location. This is all preliminary research I've done, but I created my own survey and I got over 1,200 responses. It more or less confirmed exactly what I thought. 1/3 of my respondents said that they have felt unsafe in an Uber or a Lyft ride. And on top of that, 89% said they would feel safer in my peer-to-peer system. So that's what I've created, a peer-to-peer rental and ride-sharing service. Sunday through Thursday, students will be able to rent vehicles for an hourly rate for 1 or multiple hours. They can get the freedom of driving back. They can go to and from the grocery store, restaurants, and surrounding areas. Then, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, we'll use student employees as a peer-to-peer system for ride-sharing. So you can go to and from New Haven, Hamden, and Cheshire, and you can trust that your driver is a friend, a peer, or a classmate. Safety is our primary concern, and that's why we have our peer-to-peer system, but we also have a set of secondary solutions such as sustainability with completely electric vehicles, as well as student employment that's going to get boosted with this kind of flexible work schedule so they can log on for 1 or multiple hours on these nights. And finally, it helps campuses. They have an augmented shuttle service that allows more customization to their students. This will actually lower their transportation costs than just having a ton of shuttles circling. They can have this vehicle fleet to offset some of that. And again, this lowers their carbon footprint overall. So this all starts with hiring the right people. So when you apply to become a campus car renter or driver, you're going to have proof of license and insurance. So when you apply, we'll confirm your license and insurance, and from there we'll go forward with the DMV screening. If that comes back clear, you'll be approved as a renter, but if you want to go forward and apply to become a ride-sharing driver, we'll move forward with the next step, which would be a residential assistant background check. RAs have the most clearance on a college campus, and so we can assume that that's approved, then you'll be a good employee. And so when we create partnerships with the university, it will state that periodically we'll be sending a list of names to students that you'll just have to vet for us. Once in the actual vehicle, there's additional accessories. So there'll be a throttle restrictor that ultimately limits the speed of the vehicle, as well as an onboard monitoring system. So this will allow us to track the car via GPS, as well as get live dashboard screenshots, make sure everyone's wearing a seatbelt, and most importantly, it will actually give us data over time about our drivers, such as how fast or slow they're braking and accelerating. On top of that, we'll make sure there's cameras facing the front and the back passengers so that if a situation did occur, we can monitor what's happening in our vehicles. And whether you're going Monday morning to the grocery store or you're taking the car Friday night as a ride-sharing driver, you'll have to use a breathalyzer so we can ensure sober driving. And then in terms of protecting our company, as well as personal insurance from the user, we'll have collision and liability insurance, as well as safe driving bonuses. I've been working diligently on this since last semester, and I've made great progress in the last few months. So I actually just recently incorporated as an LLC, and I'm in the process of getting my business bank account opened. And through the pitch competition last semester, I actually found an investor who's funding the development of my app. So right now I'm in the process of just finding the right fit with the developer, and so once I officially hire one, we'll start that process around the end of May, early June. My current ask is for $3,000 to fund the terms and agreements portion of my app. So before I can begin app development, I need all those agreements up front. So this is what all of our users are signing up for, right when they log in. And so I'm going to work with a team of lawyers to get that nailed down, and it has to be perfect to ensure that myself, my investor, and my company is as protected as possible from liability down the road. With any leftover money, we'll use that to roll into our payment for our beta car, which we're going to use for hopefully our beta testing next fall. We're looking at a Chevy Volt at this point in time. And as I said, my name is Tess, and I'm a young female on this campus. I've experienced uncomfortable Uber rides, and I've had my friends' stories, as well as seen as the very many horrible stories on the news. I'm giving universities a way to protect their students, whether they're on or off campus, as well as giving parents peace of mind at home and allowing students to get into the car without worries. And that's Campus Cars, the safer way to ride share.
All right. Thank you so much, Campus Cars. And now we're going to go ahead and move right into the Q&A. And as always, audience, make sure to go ahead and drop your questions right into that chat box. And first, we'll go ahead and start off with Judge Marcus.
So I like the idea. I think there's a lot of background checking that's going into it, which I think is necessary. There's also a lot of tech involved. With that said, is your pricing going to be competitive with other companies involved, or how are you going to kind of offset that increased time it takes to do the due diligence, as well as the tech involved in the entire process?
Of course, so the DMV screening, that's kind of our initial upfront cost. That's going to be $10, and so we're actually going to have users prepay on the app when they log in, and we'll have them do a prepayment of $15, almost like a security deposit. So that will cover the cost of our DMV screening, and then if they do sign up officially and they pass the DMV screening, we'll allow them to put that money towards their first ride. So we'll make sure that we're covering that cost up front. But in terms of making sure we're competitive with Uber or Lyft, with the way that they peak and valley with the prices, we're actually more competitive because at some points in the nights you're paying $80 to get home with Uber. You might be paying a little bit more if you're riding with us in the daytime there. So you might be paying $40 for us versus $30 for them. But if you ride with us there, we'll allow you to pre-book home at a set price. So you'll be guaranteed on the ride home that it will be cheaper.
All right. And then question from Judge Deb.
So who do you think, how do you buy the cars, right? Like there's a lot of upfront costs here, and I both hear you marketing to students, but I also hear you talking about the universities themselves. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So universities are our initial target because we would need to partner with them. We're obviously hoping to work with Quinnipiac. I actually booked one of your 15-minute meetings for the end of April. I didn't realize I get to pitch to you now, but we can hopefully follow that up. So we would create a partnership, and Donlin is a fleet leasing company in the United States that we're working with, or we hope to work with. They do fleet leasing of a minimum of 25 cars, but they're really looking to break into all electric fleets. And so I'm in the process of kind of negotiating, if you lease me a smaller fleet of 5 or 10, which is obviously a lot cheaper, you can use me as your beta test and you can see what it's like to have an all electric fleet. So that's kind of how we're hoping to take care of the cost of the cars up front. In terms of marketing to the universities, this is obviously a unique way to get prospective families and students here. Having this flexible work opportunity, this obviously gives parents a lot of peace of mind. So that's how we're hoping to hook the universities. And then with the students, we're going to do incentives. If you are a Campus Cars driver and you do a really good job, we're looking at, marketing. Maybe you get a scholarship next semester, or we take care of your textbook cost.
Okay. And actually, the audience had a question kind of going off that last question. The audience was wondering, what would you need from QU in order to agree to launch here?
So I would just need their commitment to allow me to beta test next fall. And so once I get the app started in May, June, that will be finished by August. And so if they'd be willing, we were hoping to just drop one car off in South Law and just kind of test the process, get the app running, just see how students like it, just get our toes in the water.
All right. Judge Marcus?
So there's obviously competition in this area, right? How would you handle if you gained a little bit of traction and Uber saw this and decided to mimic the model?
So we have thought about that a lot, and I think my personal stance on it is we're going to make sure, I would rather push off the beta test and ensure that everything's perfect than launch and have issues. So once we beta test, I want to have the process nailed so we can quickly grow. And on top of that, I wouldn't say we want to scale, so we're not always going to be a small business, but universities see that I'm a student, I'm working on this, I can offer them more customization, I can allow them to have more say in this process. Uber is just going to do what they always do, which is kind of take over, and safety kind of falls to the bottom of their priority list. So I think universities will acknowledge that.
All right. And real quick, Judge Deb, we do have a question from the audience here. It says, how do you hope to spread this to multiple universities?
So we're hoping to add one university every 3 months. We want to make sure that we perfect one before we move to the next so that there's not issues as we scale. And we're looking specifically at medium-sized colleges like Quinnipiac in the New England area. They have a lot of rebates for all electric vehicles, so that will lower our costs very much. And so again, we're just looking for medium-sized private universities within the Connecticut area to begin with.
Great. And back to Judge Deb.
Talk to me more about the legal liability, because I know from the perspective of a university, we're very scared about having students drive other students in official capacity that are sanctioned by the university.
So to go off that, Lyft actually partners with universities, or I'm sorry, Zipcar does, and so they offer students, if you partner Zipcar with a university, students under 25 can actually rent the vehicle. So there is a way to take the pressure off of the university and put it onto the actual company, and so that's what we would make sure is happening, that all liability is off Quinnipiac and on campus cars, but with our precautions, our speed limitations, breathalyzers, cameras, onboard data, as well as our screening, we're confident that we can limit the liability as much as possible.
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Campus Cars. And that is the end of our 5-minute Q&A. So now, judges, we go to you. Of course, Judge Daniela, it's first up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job. I think you're solving a major pain point and an interesting gap in the market, because you have Zipcar, you have Uber and Lyft, but this is very specific to colleges, and I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Do you see it as more of like a subscription model eventually? I mean, you can pay for the rides as needed, but do you also see it as a membership and perhaps driving more value?
At this point, we're looking for just, ride to ride, but then we're looking at the opportunities to have parents preload cards for their students if they're on universities. So at first, we're going to go ride to ride and then have parents add in, and then eventually long-term, a subscription model could work.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to give you 800.
Thank you.
Great job.
And congratulations, 800 from Daniela. All right, next up to Judge Marcus.
I think it's a great idea. I think there's a lot of moving parts though in the back that wasn't really, we didn't get to get into it really, right? We don't have enough time. Like the monitoring, who's going to be doing that? I mean, there's a lot behind the scenes. So I'll give you $600.
Thank you.
There we go. And 600 from Judge Marcus. And finally, to Judge Deb.
So I think you're right that you're trying to solve a problem that exists, and that there, as I know on this campus, transportation is always a hot button conversation. I agree with Judge Marcus that there's a lot going on here and a lot of sunk costs in what you're describing, but I have to say I've been very impressed by your thoughtfulness of the presentation and everything you've put together. So I say we go for it and try to support you to develop it. $900.
There we go. And 900 from Judge Deb. Congratulations, Campus Cars. That's amazing. And that is going to come out to a total of $2,300 for Campus Cars. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you. All right. Up next, we have our fourth contestant, and that is Jsm Boats.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here today. My name's Mike Ulich and I'm here to talk to you about Jsm Boats. But before we get into that, let's talk about the problem in the market that we aim to solve. And to introduce you to this problem, I first need to introduce you to my good friends, Doug and Lisa. Doug, Lisa, thank you so much for being here today. Now, Doug is a lake house Airbnb renter. He's staying on Otis Reservoir for 1 week this summer with his entire family, and they can't wait. They're looking to have a blast and make this the highlight of their summer. Now, of course, along with this, Doug wants to look like the awesome hero dad that he is for taking his family on such an awesome vacation. Who wouldn't? Now, Lisa is Doug's Airbnb host, and her goals are pretty in line with Doug and his family. She wants them to have the best experience possible so she can get that 5-star review and ultimately be a successful Airbnb business owner. Now, unfortunately for Doug and Lisa, there is a problem that they both share, and that is the lack of boat rental options on many of the lakes in Connecticut and Massachusetts, including Otis Reservoir. Now, if Doug and his family can't get a boat rental to keep at Lisa's dock, how are they supposed to fully enjoy their vacation experience and do all those fun lake activities like cruising, tubing, skiing, fishing, swimming, relaxing, floating out on the water, exploring the lake? After all, who really wants to stay at a lake house when you don't have a boat to go enjoy the lake in? On top of this, Lisa has even had guests fully cancel their bookings and go stay somewhere else when she couldn't recommend them a boat rental company to rent a boat from and keep at her dock. Now, luckily for Doug and Lisa, there is a solution. You all knew this one was coming. It's JSM Boats. Now at JSM, we proudly deliver boat rentals directly to the boat launches of many of the lakes in Connecticut and Massachusetts, including Otis Reservoir, lucky for Doug and Lisa. On top of this, we offer some of the most flexible multi-day rental terms around, from 2 days up to 1 week, perfect for Doug's week-long vacation. On top of this, we have a seamless online booking process. If Doug isn't sent right to our site by his Airbnb host, Lisa, he can easily find us on Google by looking up Otis Reservoir Boat Rentals, going to our convenient e-commerce site, jsmboats.com, selecting his dates, completing his booking, payment, paperwork completion, including waivers, as well as a quick safety and instructional course with a quiz at the end to make sure he knows his stuff and he's ready for his boat rental. After that, we meet Doug at the Otis Reservoir boat launch the day of his rental, launch the boat for him, give him another safety and instructional walkthrough, and send him on his way to enjoy his vacation. After it's over, he just meets us back at the same spot. We pull the boat out of the water and haul it back to JSM HQ. Now, why JSM? Why are we the right team to tackle this niche problem and fill this gap in the market? Well, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, me and my partners have already been doing it. We started back in 2020 by flipping boats. We flipped 7 boats the summer of 2020. And when winter rolled around, we said, how can we turn this successful side hustle into a legitimate business earning recurring revenue, which is how we landed on boat rentals. Now, when 2021 came around, we made it official, and we've been in business for over a year now. Now, with that year in business came some significant milestones. Of course, Jsm Boats LLC was officially incorporated in January 2021. We weren't in full operation until July, nearly halfway through that boating season, but we quickly got our first customer July 3rd, and things took off from there. By September, we had already hit $18,000 in sales and nearly broke even on our startup expenses, meaning 28 successful boat rentals on 7 different lakes in Connecticut and Massachusetts, meaning 100+ happy participants, young and old, that were brought together for a great experience on a JSM boat, thus validating our business model. Now, since last season ended, we've been working hard getting ready for this upcoming season, which kicks off in May. Now, the ask. Today, we are looking for $3,000, and if we were lucky enough to win that money, that check would be made out directly to JSM Boats LLC and be put right into our business bank account. Like I said, we are a real business. We're not just a business idea. We've been in operation for over a year now. We've got real customers and some, unfortunately, very real expenses, including insurance. As you can imagine, with a boat rental company, insurance is a significant thing. You know, risk and liability, pretty significant factors for us. Luckily, we have an awesome insurance company which specifically underwrites businesses just like ours, and it is around $2,000 per boat to insure our fleet for the season. So $2,000 of the money would go right towards insuring one of our boats. The additional $1,000 is for repairs and maintenance. As we all know, BOAT stands for bring out another 1,000, so I can guarantee you that money would be put towards good use this summer. Thank you all so much for being here. I greatly appreciate your time. Now let's make some waves this summer with JSM Boats. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, JSM. And we will move right into the Q&A. And of course, per usual, audience, make sure we're rolling in those questions in the chat box below. All right, and first question, we're gonna go to Judge Daniela.
Great job. I'm a boat owner and lover, so I appreciate what you're doing, and I think there's a huge gap in the charter industry and terrible experience that a lot of people have. I'm curious, when you're matching kind of the size of the guests, you know, the party size and the type of boat, is the user actually choosing, or are you kind of matching the right solution for the family? Do you get to select, you know, from your fleet? Is that exposed to the user? How does that, what's that?
Yeah, so they get to select the exact boat they're going on.
Okay.
Most of the boats this season, we're gonna be using our pontoon boats, so most of those fit, you know, 8 up to 12 people. We like having it on the larger side, up to 12 people, so you can have your whole family on that boat if need be. Also, if people, it's a split party and they're splitting that Airbnb, they can also pretty easily split the boat and get everyone out on there.
Awesome. And your biggest competitor in the market?
Our biggest competitor is probably either some of the marinas on a few of the lakes in Connecticut and Mass, the big lakes that do have boat rental options, like Candlewood's the biggest lake in Connecticut. There's a few marinas there, but really there's not many lakes that have marinas at all, let alone marinas with boat rental options. Other than that, there are some Airbnb, Uber for boat apps called Boat Setter and Get My Boat. But they really don't have many options in the Northeast. They're more like down in Florida, in Boston, Chicago, and the West Coast. So we really don't have many.
You know your market.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Judge Marcus?
So I'm a boater, love it. So this kind of resonates with me. So there are like boat timeshares, right? Which I understand how this kind of differs because it's not necessarily, these are people vacationing. It's not someone borrowing a boat for a season per se. But why lakes only?
So the ocean is like a whole nother market. If we were to go like, to the Connecticut shore, something like that, that's a different story. There is like marinas that do more boat rentals down there. There's also, more risk and stuff with sending people out on the ocean. This is kind of something we know. I'm from Southfield, Connecticut. We're right on the border of Mass. We got lakes nearby. We've been to a ton of the lakes now this summer because we were doing this. So it's kind of the market we know. And we saw that gap where there was no options on so many lakes. And people would say to us, our first customer actually, he's had a lake house in his family on a lake in Massachusetts. It's called Greenwater Pond for like over 100 years, I think he said, and they've never been able to rent a boat up there. And he said he almost bought one, but he found us, luckily. And before we even had the site fully up, we had, our initial sketchy Google site. And he sent him emails. He's like, when's it going to be ready? When can I rent one? And he rented one for a week from us right off rip when we first started. So that's kind of the demand we found, and it's been very interesting.
All right. And it looks like we do have a question from the audience. The audience is wondering, how will you differentiate risk factors from antique boats for rent versus non-antique boats?
So as far as like how old our fleet is and stuff like that, I'm thinking that's what it is. So the boats we used last year, we used our flipping skills and found some pretty good, older, cheaper boats off of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Of course, we made sure they ran good, they looked good, and they floated, most importantly. But we didn't really have many problems with those last year, but coming around to this year, older boats will experience mechanical issues. We're starting to have some trouble at the end of the year. So this year, we're trying to look more towards working with dealerships and actually using financing options to leverage that rather than putting all that capital down up front on older boats. We can actually leverage those financing options and get newer boats, which we have less problems with inevitably. And if we get one rental a month, it covers our payments on that financing.
Of course. Judge Deb?
You actually just answered my question, which was about the capital, how you're dealing with boats are not cheap.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And what about the breadth and demand? What do you expect in terms of growth? And like, are you really traveling all over both states? And what do you expect in terms of demand?
Yeah, so like I said, last year we did 28 rentals when we didn't even start till July. So things ramped up pretty quickly. And again, like our site had just got on Google, so like our SEO wasn't great. This year's a different story. Our SEO is good. We're still getting that fleet ready, but I've already got people. I've done a wait list, of course, so I can just email when everything's ready. And I've got people, saying, hey, we want it for. The nice thing about this market is, when people are going on vacations, they plan ahead of time. So it's not a last minute hourly rental thing. They're planning. I got people asking me for a rental all the way out in September. So we already kind of have been seeing that demand coming in. And as far as scaling wise, we start with 1 to 2 boats this season. If we don't get demand past that, we just stick with that. But if we do, we can of course get more boats and hire some more people to tow them.
All right. And that is going to take us right to the 5 minutes of the Q&A. Thank you so much, Jsm Boats. And of course, now it's time to go to Judge Daniela as we make the decisions.
All right, Mike. Yeah, really like we were heading. Congratulations on the success so far, and I'd love to give you $1,000 to push this forward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Congratulations, $1,000 from Judge Daniela. Next to Judge Marcus.
I think it's a great idea. I like the market. I think it's it's a limited market though. Quick question: the people renting, do they have to be licensed?
So in Massachusetts, you don't need a license, but of course we have that safety course, and if you're failing that quiz and we get there and you don't know what you're doing, we have full right to pull that rental from you. So we expect the people in Massachusetts, even though you don't technically need a license, to know what they're doing. Connecticut, you legally do need a license to rent a boat or drive a boat.
I'll give you $750.
Thank you.
And $750 from Judge Marcus. Congratulations. And finally, Judge Deb.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. Great idea. I've certainly been on lakes or on vacation and wanted to rent a boat, so I think it's a great idea, but I am also thinking about the scalability, the market, so I think $750.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and congratulations, JSM Boats, for a total of $2,500 from our judges. That's amazing. Congratulations. All right.
Guys, appreciate it.
And finally, our last contestant is going to be Eat Well, Be Well.
Hi, my name is Shanika Reynolds, and this is Eat Well, Be Well. I come from an extensive Jamaican family, and we eat like it's our job. In 2017, my mother's uncle sustained a heart attack. Ideally, this is what happened. Your physician tells you to eat well, exercise, and take your medication. Imagine my surprise when I called my uncle to see how he's adjusting to his new diet, and he waxed poetic about how delicious the jerk pork he had last week was. In reality, this is what happened. Maybe people can stay active, maybe they can take their medications, but when it comes to dietary compliance, people often fall through the cracks. And that leads to the progression of disease, which in my uncle's case was more heart attacks and more stent placements. In 2017, there was a study that showed that, looking at 195 countries, that showed that 1 in every 5 deaths across the globe was attributable to suboptimal diet. But at least we can rely on our physicians for nutrition recommendations, right? A 2014 article found that less than 1% of lecture hours in the medical education system was attributable to nutrition education. Right now, we have resources that only answer parts of the solution to this problem. We have our traditional recipes for cultural sensitivity. We have our evidence-based recommendations, such as the Mediterranean-inspired DASH diet. And we have tons of resources about how to make a meal under $5. And we even have some resources that can incorporate culture with budget. But we don't have anything that has all three. And that is why I created Eat Well, Be Well. Eat Well, Be Well will address socioeconomic barriers and educate users about healthy food choices within the context of their own culture. So what are the features of Eat Well, Be Well? People will be able to search for recipes based off their own culture, and within their culture, they'll be able to search for dietary restrictions such as cardiac, renal, or diabetic diets. People will also be able to utilize our search ingredients by location and price to address socioeconomic barriers. There will also be nutrition education by us letting people know why we're recommending certain substitutions. We'll also work with chefs and cooks well-versed in specific cultures to make sure our food is delicious. We'll have photos and videos to walk people through their recipes, and people will also be able to leave feedback as well. So who will use Eat Well, Be Well, and how will it benefit them? So we have the 35-year-old Ghanaian woman who has a history of gestational diabetes coming to her OB-GYN during her second pregnancy. Her doctor will be able to confidently recommend Eat Well, Be Well for their Ghanaian recipes. We also have a 71-year-old Nepalese man who wants to make his favorite dish, sel roti, but he doesn't want to deep fry the dough. He'll be able to turn to Eat Well, Be Well for healthier alternatives. And we'll also have people who are just interested in trying new cuisines and people who want to utilize our search ingredients by location and price to be able to find recipes within their budget. So our story and our experience is what led to the creation of Eat Well, Be Well, and it will lead to the further development of the app. I am a Jamaican-American graduating medical student, so I've seen from both sides how the crucial link between culture and healthcare is often missed. And I've also had many physicians express interest in this idea as well. On our team, we also have Zania Johnson, who has a master's in nutrition, and she has her own business, Micro to Life, which is a farming business, and she's also of Jamaican heritage. So we're gonna start with what we know best, and that's Jamaican food. Connecticut has one of the largest Jamaican populations in the country, and over half of that is centralized in Hartford. So we're going to combine my extensive network of clinicians and physicians that I've established through medical school and the Caribbean organizations in Connecticut to promote and test the foundations of Eat Well, Be Well. So we have our idea. Right now we're gathering resources. We're asking for the full $3,000 to establish our business, to register our business, trademark our name. $350 will be going to ingredient testing. We will be testing traditional recipes versus our recipes to make sure that they're delicious, nutritious, and that they're efficient in preparation of the meals. We'll also be using the rest of the $230 towards the app development, which can range anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. After that, we will be going into our prototyping development phase, and this can be a cyclical phase depending on feedback. We'll be going back and testing our recipes depending on the feedback that we get during their testing phase. After that, we will launch under what is called a freemium model. Our big thing is culture and recipes, but also the socioeconomic factors. So we want this resource to be free to everyone. So there'll be a free in-ad application part, but people will have the option to upgrade to a $5 subscription for ad-free usage within the application. Right now, we're starting with Jamaican recipes, but our goal is to expand to incorporate as many cultures as possible so we can impact as many communities as possible. This is Eat Well, Be Well, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Eat Well, Be Well. And now we're gonna go right into our Q&A, starting with the judges. And of course, at home, make sure that you are also dropping your questions right into that chat box. But first, we're gonna go ahead and start off with Judge Marcus.
I think it's a great idea. I love the concept. I think it's a big problem, and I think this is a great way to solve it. I like that it's going to be free, with ads, and it makes it so that you have a larger audience. My question, though, is there's going to be a lot of recipes.
Yes.
Are you coming up with them yourself, or how are you coming up with these recipes?
Yeah.
It's a lot of taste testing.
Exactly.
How are you getting around that?
So that's why we're starting with Jamaican recipes, because I know Jamaican recipes, Zania knows Jamaican recipes, my dad, who I'm pulling in against his will, knows Jamaican recipes, and so we're utilizing that. But that's why we also want to work with chefs and cooks who are well versed in the cultural recipes, because we don't want to make a restaurant version or like chain version of meals. We want it to be home cooked meals that people from the culture will actually eat in the comfort of their home. So when we're expanding our recipe catalog, we'll go and we'll find chefs and cooks who are well familiar with the cuisine of that culture.
How are you going to incentivize them to give up recipes?
Oh yeah, so so chefs can create menus for you. I looked into that. So it can range anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000. So that would be the cost when we are expanding our library per culture. And that can include the chef doing the work hours and the ingredients as well to do the testing.
All right, question from Judge Deb.
So both on that point, I mean, I think it's a great idea. And there's no question that more focus on nutrition makes a lot of sense. But both in what you just said about creating the library of recipes, and then also on the app development piece, you've got a lot of costs in front of you. So
yeah.
Talk about that, and it usually also takes a while with an app, and especially if it's ad revenue based, you need folks who are using it. So,
yeah.
So how do you think about those pieces?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's another reason why we're starting with Jamaican recipes, because we have that foundation, and so we can lay the foundation of the application and build on top of that. In terms of the cost, so we're starting in Connecticut because there's so many organizations, and I have so many networks here that I could work with them to test our application and to make sure we have that foundation so that we're ready to expand. It's a seamless process and we're not having surprise expenses. And then also, I know you didn't ask this, but like with working with local chefs, we have some chefs who are well versed in cuisines that are not as popular, and so they're gonna get the chance to have that publicity and that work experience as well.
All right, and it looks like we do have a question in the chat. What are the risks in the distribution and the supply chain?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that, because what's really unique about our app is that it's a mobile application, so as long as you have a phone, you have access to it, but we're actually having a physician-driven marketing vehicle. So we will be going towards doctors and saying, hey, I know you don't really have good nutrition education. This is something that is evidence-based, and doctors are all about evidence-based. Where's the research? Is this in compliance with the CDC? We could say, we've done the work, we have our nutritionist, our dietitian, and myself, and we've made sure that this is actually a nutrition meal, and you can confidently say, here, you need to lower your blood pressure, please use this app. They have good nutrition recommendations for you.
All right, back to our judges. Judge Danielle?
So on that note, if you were, say you had a barrier to entry from the physician's route as a user and I had some medical condition, would I be able to kind of have that experience integrated within the app where I can say, hey, this is what my challenge is from a health perspective, and then the nutrition and the recipe suggestions would help to complement what my medical condition is? Is that Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask just to make sure I get your question right. So like if you're like a diabetic, but your doctor didn't recommend this app to you.
Correct.
So like if I'm like a Sudanese diabetic and I go on my application, I can go into Sudanese culture recipes, and then within that there'll be diabetic recipes there as well.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
All right, Judge Marcus?
So I really like this idea, right? And I think the trickle-down effect on healthcare costs and just in general, which is what we're seeing surges in, would be fantastic. Have you ever thought about getting additional funding through insurance companies? So if it's hired, you know, if a doctor's recommending it and someone uses it, the insurance company, because it would increase the health benefits to the client.
That is a really good feedback. No, I have not thought of that. I have gotten the recommendation that this can also double as what we call a CME credits, because physicians have to learn certain things and have a certain amount of credits to stay in practice. And so we're offering nutrition education as a part of our app. And so, you know, this suggested that down the road, this could be a way for physicians to earn credits. But that is a really good idea. I didn't think to work with insurance companies, because this is preventative medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is the end of our 5-minute Q&A. And now, of course, it's time for the judge's decision. What are we going to give Eat Well, Be Well? Starting with Judge Danielle.
So you're solving a huge, huge problem, and you can really change the world when it comes to this. And I believe health is wealth. So with that being said, 900.
Thank you.
Congratulations, 900 from Judge Daniela. Judge Marcus.
Again, I just think the effects of this would be fantastic if we were able to get this kind of massively adopted. I'm going to give you $1,000.
Congratulations, 1,000 from Judge Marcus. That's awesome. And finally, Judge Deb.
Yeah, I agree with my fellow judges. You're solving a really important problem, both in the focus on nutrition, but also a culturally sensitive approach to it, and thinking about something that you can really do at home that's actually doable for the end user. And your connections, right, in you know, bringing the medical team together. So I give you $1,000.
Thank you so much.
Wow, amazing. Congratulations. Eat Well, Be Well with a total of $2,900. That is absolutely amazing. Congratulations, and thank you so much. Eat Well, Be Well.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, and that is going to conclude the final 2022 Quinnipiac Pitch Competition. Absolutely amazing pitches all around today. And as we begin to wrap up, let's go ahead and take a look what each team is going to be bringing home today. So first off, we have Flawless Frau with a total of $2,400. Next up, ULR with a total of $2,000. And Campus Cars with $2,300. Jsm Boat is going to be taking home $2,500. And last but not least, Eat Well, Be Well with an amazing $2,900 that they are going to be bringing home today. Now, if you want to learn more about Quinnipiac or the People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, or if you have a business idea of your own, go ahead and make sure to visit qu.edu/innovation. Now, once again, I just want to say thank you so much to all of our contestants today for their innovative and absolutely amazing business pitches. And of course, thank you to our judges for taking the time out of your day and supporting our entrepreneurs. Another huge thank you to the People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for sponsoring this amazing event. And of course, to the audience for being here, for asking all of your amazing questions, and for supporting all of our entrepreneurs. That's going to be it from the 2022 Quinnipiac Business Pitch Competition, and we hope to see you next time.